Ooby-doo, it's everyone's favorite boomer and vintage lens enthusiast, and today we're going to be discussing the Canon EF 75-300 f4 to f5.6. I don't have this lens, so I can't show it to you, but I was shooting it on the Rebel XTi in 2009-2010. I bought the lens brand new from B&H, which is a superstore in the city, for less than $200, and it replaced the Kodak Gear 70-210, which was, to be charitable, it was mediocre at best, but it was dirt cheap for $60. So it was better than no lens at all, and I took some decent pictures with it. But I gave that lens away, and I slapped the Canon on this bad boy. And you gotta remember, in 2009, 2010, 10 megapixel DSLR, that was like top of the game. You couldn't do much better than that. You could not do much better than that. You know, even with the instant rebate, it was still like $700 camera. So, and it was a silver one when everything was black. So it's in excellent condition, except the bomb's a little scuffed up from placing it down, but it received no hard knocks or shocks or anything, and it's still fully functional. And it's a nice camera. It has this screen, and its automatic thing shuts off. Isn't that cool? Let's look at the menu. Quality, red eye, beep, shoot without card, automatic exposure bracketing, flash exposure compensation, white balance, color space, picture style. You know, this is standard Canon stuff. So, you know, oh, you gotta go up here first to move over. Protect, rotate, print order. It's very basic, very, very basic. There are some custom functions, exposure level increment, mirror lockup, evaluative, shutter curtain sync, magnified view, LCD power went on, so you could shut that off. Flash exposure compensation, long exposure noise reductions either on or off, a lot of stuff, AF assist beam. So it's very basic, not much to it. This is from some other semi-pro camera. They took the guts out of a semi-pro camera, which was obsolete, and they put it in this camera. So this has extra features that are like locked, but if you use Magic Lantern, you could get to them, like higher ISO and some other features. But I just don't use it. I'm happy with the way it is. So does the flash pop up? No, the camera's got to be on. Then the flash pops up. So the 70-300 was about that long, and it was made out of nice plastic. It was made out of plastic, but it was still nice, plastic and rubber. It had a metal lens flange. The EF means it was made for full frame film. They say, oh, you can only use it on a digital crop sensor. I think that's BS. I mean, you could probably put it on a full frame, but I don't have the lens, so I can't check it now. There's a lot of, this lens has a bad reputation, the 75-300, that it's soft and nasty. And well, I shot some pictures in New York City, which is all rectilinear, you know, buildings with horizontal and vertical stripes, and I thought the results were very acceptable. They were good. I mean, stop down the f11, 16, I think it went down to 22. That's when you get your best results. f8, 7.1, 6.3 are wide open. Well, it's definitely a little soft. It liked strong sunlight, you know, bright sunny days. That's what it liked. Haze, it magnified haze somehow. Of course, that depends on how you set your camera too. And I had to do some post-processing. Now, if it's a bright sunny day and the exposure is right on the money, maybe I just had to adjust the brightness a little bit and you're good to go. If it was hazy or foggy or anything like that, that I really had to like correct the colors a lot. That's all I did. No sharpening, absolutely no sharpening. That's how they came out of the camera. But if you were to increase the contrast and reduce the highlights or the gamma or any combination thereof, you can make the pictures look sharp. It was a high definition lens, but it was low resolution. I mean, not low resolution like a pinhole, but it was lower than what you would expect. I didn't notice too much distortion. So it wasn't a bad lens. Was it a great lens? No, it wasn't a great lens. Was it better than most? Yeah, I think it was better than most. I think it was better than a lot of other lenses that were out there, cheap lenses. So I did get rid of it, and I went on to some other lenses. But I was a fool because I had techno-lust, and I kept buying new stuff. And now I'm into the secondhand market, and I buy a lot of used stuff now. Yeah, I buy some top-notch used stuff, but I still get it 50% off of what the list, the new cost is for these items. So what was the main downfall of the Canon EF 75-300 f4 to 5.6? Well, it had purple fringing. I like to be a plane spotter, and I take pictures of planes when they're like, 4 miles up in the air, and they look like tiny little toys. And you see the image was sharp, but it was overlaid by a purple fringing. So it's that lateral color or spherochromatism, I don't know. But it did suffer from that. Even stopped down, you could still see it. So, but that's like a bright airplane against a monocolor sky. But if you look at like a city skyline, which has all different ranges of colors and shadows and details stuck together, you don't notice it that much, except the images look a little bit soft. But of course, like I said, at F11 or F16 or F10, they look good. But F9, F8, 5.6, stuff like that, oh, it's definitely soft. But I had a girlfriend, and she lived in Hackensack, and I would visit her. Then we would pop over to, say, the Hudson River waterfront on the Jersey side or the New York side. And on pleasant afternoons in the summer, we'd walk up and down the promenade of the Hudson River, and we'd take pictures. And some of them came out pretty good. I think they hold up. Even, we're talking, I'm doing this in 2025, you're talking 15 or 16 years later. This camera had low noise. If you properly exposed the pictures, you couldn't see much noise. If you underexpose the pictures, well then, when you boost the shadows, then you would see noise. So it is, in this camera, you're better off setting exposure value to nominal, and then reducing the brightness or a little bit, and adjusting the contrast as necessary, and you get really good results. So let's look at some pictures. I do have a picture of the lens, a couple different views, so you can check it out. And I just want to say it came in a different version. The original version just had autofocus. It had a macro setting, but you're still talking over a meter or something, so it wasn't that much of a macro. It had no aperture ring. You control that by the camera. So all you did was zoom. There was you could shut the autofocus off and then manually focus, but with these cameras, they don't have a capture focus indicator, and nor is the view screen a focusing screen. It's more of an aerial screen, so it's hard to get precise focusing manually. So you're sort of stuck with autofocus. And most of the time, the autofocus worked really good. Now, I had the original version that came out in 1991, and that's all it had. Then it had a version 1. I think it came out with IS or something, right? And then they kept adding extra features. Maybe they changed the lens formula a little bit, and maybe they added a UD element or something. But I don't know. It was just not. Everyone says it's not a great lens. So no, it's not an L lens. It's a totally acceptable lens, capable of good photos. I said, oh, why didn't I keep it? Well, like I said, I had techno-lust, and I moved on to other things. It was a weird focal range. I mean, you had the use a fast shutter speed to get rid of unintentional camera movement, right? And then you have to, if you want to use a stop down aperture, then you have to boost the ISO. And 400 and 800, this camera handled really good, but 1600, it was pretty crappy. So you got to keep that in mind. But let's look at these historical photos from 2010 or 2009, and then we'll just see. You have to decide whether it's a good lens or not. Now, this is the thing. I got less than $200 in 2009, and I still see these things for sale for like $90. I mean, they got to be in beautiful, perfect condition for that money. And you got to make sure what flavor is. There's original flavor, version 1, version 2, version 3. So, and they all have extra features, like I said, IS and whatnot. So, but did you really need it? If you want to go cheap, you bought this lens. Oh, that's another thing. The lenses that do have IS, they were always, they had to carry a premium and they cost more. So you have to keep that in mind also. But having said that, why don't we just jump into the slideshow and you decide if it was a bad lens and it deserved its reputation. Did I mention that the Canon EF 75-300 f4 to f5.6 is made in Malaysia? This one says made in Japan, but the one I had said made in Malaysia. So I don't know. There's many different versions of it. All right, so I went to New York City with my girlfriend on a July afternoon, and we walked up and down the Hudson River, and I bought this camera with me. It's on an XTi, and I think I got some excellent results. The low noise, ISO 400, properly exposed. I did adjust the brightness and contrast a little bit, but only a little bit. And you could see it's got some really nice detail. And does this lens deserve its reputation as being like a underperformer? No, I think it turned out to be really a good lens. I liked it. Of course, it did have purple fringing on small objects, that say use a bright object against a monocolor background, and like a white plane against a blue sky, you would see purple fringing around it, and that would affect the ultimate resolution. But like I say, it was high definition but low resolution, and that's not like a bad thing. I was completely happy with these results, even though I did have to futz with them a little bit, but only a little bit. The New York waterways, they're like, it's $20 each way, the New York waterway. But if you're going out with your gal and you want to have a day out, and you take the ferry over to the city, or rather the round trip's like $40 or something, even with the senior pass. And you can walk around that side of the city and just come back, and a pleasant time is had by all. Eclipse, remember that movie, Eclipse? So that's really 2010 or something like that. Now, some of these buildings look like they had gold tops to them. And of course, remember, this is in 2025, and this is from 15 years ago. I'm sure the skyline has changed dramatically in that time. And they have these helicopter rides. If you look closely at this picture, you can see that there's a lot of heat waves. And of course, the Hudson River has some wildlife on it, like cormorants and Canadian geese. And this is a decent lens, without a doubt. It's not a bad lens. It's not like just an adequate lens, like a Kodak Gear, which was just barely adequate. This is pretty decent. Of course, you had to stop down to like, f9, 11, 16, and you got really good results. Okay, here's a 1:1 crop of this Canadian goose. And that's really reasonable. I think they came out good. I don't see why this thing has such a bad reputation. But then you would say, well, Boomer, how come you didn't keep your copy? Well, Technolust makes you do things like that. It wasn't a great lens. It was an outstanding lens. So I either sold it cheap or gave it away to somebody. I don't remember, it was a long time ago. And I moved on to other lenses. Chrysler Building. Yeah, I mean, it's just the city from the Jersey side. You could see these wall of buildings. It's very impressive. And they're mostly rectangular cubes, but some of them have like a different like pyramids on the top, or the New Yorker set back with a giant sign, and it's just cool. I mean, you know, people, they go all over the world. They visit these far-off places. Well, I live where I could take a weekend jaunt and look at the city, either be in the city or look at it from the outside. There's these helicopter tours. That's a big thing back at that time period. I don't know if they put the kibosh on that or they still have helicopter tours, but they take off and land, and well, they could be noisy and annoying, but that's part of the city. The city is noisy and annoying. Yeah, and it's a hub for these cruises. This is the Intrepid Air and Space Museum before they had the shuttlecraft on it. But you can see all the planes that are on it. Of course, it was when they had the Concorde there. You can see here's the Concorde, and one price gets you in. You can see the Concorde. They have some submarine there. If you look real closely, it looks like they got a Mercury capsule hanging from that crane. Here's a one-to-one crop of that helicopter. So it is a decent lens. I mean, if you're pixel peeping and under certain circumstances, you will see the purple fringing, without a doubt. And the wider open your aperture is, the more soft it is. So there was a park there, and there was a bee on one of these flowers. It sort of looked like some sort of bird, but it was a bee. And it was just a cool place to hang out. This is part of some roadway that went by there. And that's pretty decent, you know. It's not absolutely perfect, but I think it's good enough, you know. And if you didn't want to spend big bucks, it was under $200 in 2009 money. There's the Chrysler Building again. You can see one gargoyle hanging off to the right edge there. And some buildings have these green tops. They must have been copper, and it's weathered patina. And it's just this wall of buildings of different sizes, and you know, they have shapes and patterns and whatever material they used. And there's the Hudson River and the GWB and the Verazano Narrows. No, that's not it. Inception, remember Inception? That came out around that time. And there's wildlife. Here's a egret flying, one-to-one crop. That's really decent. It's okay. I mean, you know, this is an upscale crop, where I crop smaller than this movie format, and I upscale it to fit the movie format. So right when we were there, the cruise ship was pulling out, and I just took some pictures of the cruise ship. Now, you may have noticed in the beginning, I used like 300 millimeters almost exclusively, but then when the ship went by, I used all different focal lengths. How would you like to be in that boat with these hot chicks, man? Right? There's some guy in the gangplank there. How about that? He's checking out the view. So these are all different. 140 millimeters looks really good. 75 millimeters looks really good. 170 millimeters looks really good. 300 millimeters is actually the softest setting. Here's another 75 millimeters is better than 300 millimeters. Of course, notice it's f11, so that's what the sweet spot is, f10, 11, and 16. 150 millimeters. So yeah, I was really zooming in and out to get different, you know, composition. 155 millimeters. And you know, you get an extra 100 millimeters if you had a 75 to 200 or 210. You get that extra reach with this 300 millimeters. I could categorically say that if you could find one cheap enough, pick one up, and you won't be that disappointed, as long as you operate it within the confines of its parameters.